Hello all, in this session we will understand what is a pandas and how you can think of utilizing this pandas functionality. Again, first and foremost, let's understand what is a pandas and why there is a need of using pandas. Again, at the end of the day, what you have to learn is you have to do a data analysis. You have to do a data analysis. It means you have to deal with a lot of plots and lot of charts. Lots of plot and lots of chart. But in order to come up with some chart, some plot, some visualization, what you need is you need data. You need data. So it means the data that you have, first and foremost, you have to read it, or first and foremost, you have to load it. And that's where my pandas is a god. So pandas is one of the amazing library. It is an open source. It means anyone is able to access that. It's an open source Python library, which is a god in case of data manipulation, in case of data cleaning, and lot of other stuff. Again, the data that you have, typically there are two ways to read this data. One way is you can say, okay, I'm good at programming. Can I use a basic file handling? And can I write some 10 to 20 lines of code just to read any file? This is the one way you can think of. The another way is, for those of you who are not from the programming background, they say, okay, why I will worry on this file handling approach? I will use simple pandas. I will call some inbuilt function of this, and the moment I call some inbuilt function, let's say read something, we will end up getting our data. So it's hardly just one line of code in order to read the data. Now let's have a code walkthrough. First and foremost, let's try to rename the notebook name that we have. I can say, okay, it's all about nothing but cborn_basic, or let's say data analysis basic, or let's say cborn_basics. It's all up to you. I can say as cborn_basics. Cool. The moment we do all these things, what we can do is, again, if you want to customize this IPython notebook name, it's all up to you. You can also say as, okay, it is nothing but a basics of data analysis. It's all up to you. I can say as basics of data analysis. Cool. Now, first and foremost, what you have to do is you have to import the pandas package that you have. Again, just in a couple of seconds, I will tell you what exactly this line of code stands for. Let me execute that and let me show you what exactly this line of code is all about. So the moment I call import, let's understand what this keyword is all about. Again, this keyword is saying, okay, there is a pandas package in your system. Just load this pandas package and let's create a shortcut as PD. Again, as is typically used when you have to create an alias or a shortcut in context of any function or any module. Typically, it is used in context of function. Now let's understand why there is a need to create an alias or a shortcut. Again, this pandas is a package. Okay, this pandas is a package. In this package itself, there are thousands of functions. Just to do some kind of task, there are thousands of functions. Imagine there is a function 1. Let's say there is a function 2. So if I have to call the function 1, let's say I have to read a file or at any database, I can say, okay, can I call this function 1? I can simply say as pandas.f1. This is the way how you can think of calling any function of any module. Just mention module name dot the function name that you have. So if I have to call f2, I can say as pandas.f2. So one thing that you might notice is you have to write a pandas again and again. So just to get rid of this, I can say, okay, can I write as pd.f1? Can I write as pd.f2? Can I do that? That's where you can think of creating the shortcut. Now, using pd, what I have to do, I have to call some function. Again, here we have to read a file. Now let me show you where we have file. So this is the file which is my Zomato_sample. Now you will notice this is of CSV format. Look at this. It is saying it is of type Microsoft Office Excel, separated values. It means it's a CSV file. It means I have to call something function which is related to a CSV. Now the moment I will press tab over there, look at this. These are all the possible functions that get initialized itself from the read. Look at this. We have all the functions. read CSV, read Excel, lot of functions here. Now the moment I will press Shift plus tab over here, look at the documentation of what are all the parameters this read CSV function typically receives. Look at this. The first and foremost parameter that you have to take care is all about the file path or the buffer. It means where exactly your file is all about. So what I will say is, I will say, okay, this is the file path. This is the file path where my dataset is available. I will just paste this file path. Let me add this slash and let me press again tab. So dataset that you have to read is my zomato_sample.csv. This is dataset that we have to read. Now the moment I will execute this line of code, this is the entire dataset that you will end up getting. And just in a couple of seconds, I will tell you what this is all about, or what the matrix like of a structure is all about, just in a couple of seconds. Again, it is always good to mention something known as R, which is all about a raw string, because this certainly helps Pandas or Python just to read file very efficiently. Now let me tell you intuition behind that. Again, file structure in different OS are created in a different way. So the moment I say, okay, in context of Mac, which uses a Unix OS internally, again, they use something known as /. Whereas Windows OS uses something known as /, just to mention any file path. This is the basic difference. Again, in some of the recent versions or some of the specific versions in my Mac or in my Linux OS, this is the main issue. Again, we have something known as Android as well that uses this /, just to mention the file path. Again, in Windows we have something known as C drive. So if I have to mention some file path which is available in the C drive, I can say as I have C drive, then let's say I have some folders, let's say users, then I have some folders, let's say nice, then I have some file name .csv if this is a CSV file. And this is exactly something known as absolute path. This is something known as absolute path in Windows. But in Mac, we do not have any C drive. If I have to mention some file path, I can say, okay, this is dot, and then we have some, let's say file, let's say zomato.csv. Zomato.csv. What this dot means? It means this is the current folder in which we are running it on. So in Mac, in Android, in Linux, it uses the /, whereas Windows uses the /. And this makes file structure so confusing. So in order to get rid of this, what we say is, we say, okay, this is what my string is. Look at this. This is my string. Because this is quoted in the single quotes. And if something that is quoted in the single quotes, often treated as a string, in context of Python especially. Something that is quoted in double quotes, also treated as a string. Even sometimes if we have triple quotes, typically they are treated as a sentence, sometimes as a string as well. This is the rule of thumb. I can say, okay, this is my normal string. Let's convert this normal string into something known as raw string. Something known as raw string by just appending R before this string. So the moment I convert this into raw string, this file path gets understood to this function as it is. Again, it doesn't matter what OS you're using, whether you're Windows, Mac, Android. The moment you use this R, you will not end up getting any kind of error. So let's store this in somewhere else. Let's say in df. Let me execute that. And the moment I will print df, this is what exactly my df looks like. So that's all about this session. Again, for those of you who have any doubt, kindly utilize the Q&A of the course as much as you can. So that's all about it. Thank you. Have a nice day. Keep learning, keep growing, keep practicing.